Hi, I'm just going to take some time to tell you a little bit about the window of tolerance. So the window of tolerance is the idea that there's a certain level of distress that an individual is able to tolerate. And everyone's window is a different size, and depending on a variety of factors such as temperament, personality, and even trauma history, or current stress levels as well. So when you're in your window of tolerance, you can deal with everyday stresses. You might feel a certain level of stress or distress when something's going on, but overall, it doesn't bother you too much, or you're able to handle it. When you go outside of your window of tolerance, you can go into hyperarousal or hypoarousal. So hyperarousal is activated. You're anxious, angry, out of control, overwhelmed. Your body wants to either fight or flight, either defend yourself from the perceived threat or get away from that perceived threat. And it's not something that you have control over. These are just automatic reactions that you're having. And the other end of that spectrum is the hypoarousal. So the hypoarousal is where you might feel spacey, zoned out, numb, frozen, shut down. The body just wants to withdraw. And again, this is not something that you can choose. It's an automatic reaction that your body is having to a level of stress. So when people have a history of trauma, or like I said before, different levels of tolerance, and because of their temperament, their window of tolerance can shrink. So day-to-day stresses that they normally could have dealt with, or been able to problem solve with, are more likely to put them into hyper or hypoarousal. So what we want to do is allow someone to to work with a therapist to increase that window of tolerance, to help them learn ways to cope and manage these feelings so they're not going outside that window of tolerance. So, when you're in your window of tolerance, you're able to regulate your emotions. You can think, you can feel, and you're able to function. There's different things that can affect your window of tolerance, such as your current emotional state, the social context that you're in, so where you are. I'm sure you can think of different situations where you feel less able to deal with certain things. Maybe it's a busy place, maybe, or maybe there's when you're out in public, you're more able to regulate yourself, because you have that consciousness that people are watching. Your temperament, as I mentioned before. Hunger and exhaustion can really affect people. So making sure that you're getting those meals when you're hungry, those well-balanced meals, and getting the sleep that you need as well, as much as you're able to control that. Traumatic experiences, as I mentioned before, can also shrink that window of tolerance. So getting the support that you need after you experience a traumatic experience. Being emotionally worn, physically exhausted, or caught off guard. If we're expecting things to go a certain way and we're caught off guard, we don't know what to expect. And that can set us outside that window as well. So again, hyperarousal is excessive sympathetic branch activity. So it's in the brain. Your body is reacting to a perceived threat. Whether or not there's actual danger, your brain is telling you that there is danger. Your functioning gets impaired. How are you supposed to sequentially make decisions and problem solve when your brain is in a fight flight mode? Your brain is in instinct. It's using the same part of your brain as breathe, digest food, and protect. There's a physiological response, so most people feel this very much in their bodies, and depending on who you are, depends on where you might feel this in your body. There might be difficulty in self-reflection and rational thought, so thinking things through, what would be the best decision for me in this situation. People can become rigid or inflexible. They become very hypervigilant and aware of what's going on around them. Emotions are quick and intense, and feelings of emotional or lack of emotional safety are very real. People become very overwhelmed with the emotion that they're experiencing when they're in a hypoarousal state. So hypoarousal is the opposite. So in when you're in hypoarousal, you're in the parasympathetic branch activity. So the shutdown, the withdrawal, the slowing of the heart rate, the slowing of breathing. And people often feel numb when they're in this state. They also have difficulty thinking, and may feel disconnected from themselves and from the environment. That people often feel shame or inappropriate guilt when in hypoarousal. And the ability to say no is very difficult to come by. It's it the fight is just not there to assert one's boundaries.